What is going on, guys? This is Epic Spawn the Hunted here, and today I'm bringing you some news on Bleeding Edge. Now, if you haven't heard, the second round of the closed beta is starting March 13th and running through the 16th, the 15th, pretty much, actually. So, I actually tweeted at Bleeding Edge asking any balance changes we should be expecting for round 2. And it wasn't until the next day, but they responded with, we just released our patch notes. So I will link these patch notes in the description, assuming I don't forget. So I just wanted to run down what I thought were the cooler parts of the patch notes, some smaller notes. So yeah, first we're gonna run through the small notes, and then I'll go more in depth and highlight some I think are more important changes and some pretty cool changes. First of all, I want to give huge credit to the Bleeding Edge team, Ninja Theory. Their amount of love and passion being put into the game and how much they're listening into the community feedback, because a lot of these changes and fixes are due to the community feedback. So first of all, it's really important that we do that as the beta testers, to give them feedback to make the game better, to improve it, and they really do listen to it. So I love this team. They're doing a fantastic job. So real quick, they do mention performance. They are aware that some players struggled with stability, lag, and frame drops. They pretty much just said they fixed it. They should be a lot less of it, if any at all. They are added a new feature to where it shows the stages of a character joining a team, whether the game is just starting or the game is already in session and looking for a new member. They added stages for the game is looking for another player, loading that player into the game, and that player is selecting the fighter, just so you know approximately how much time is left until you have that extra player for your team. This one I thought was huge. I was really excited for it. Due to popular request, we've added systems for dynamic background music which will play during matches. This system is still a work in progress. You can expect some bugs. That was one thing I thought was really weird when I was playing Bleeding Edge the first time around. I really enjoyed the gameplay and I was having a lot of fun. There was just no sound unless you were in a fight, and it was super off-putting and super almost I don't want to say boring. That's a really harsh word, but that's almost the word I want to use. The background music is, to me, very important. I'm also just a big fan of music in general, and think every game should have really great music. But yeah, I'm really glad they're adding some more dynamic, more ambiance music. It's super necessary for the downtime. And then the small little last thing, the workshop, they're adding the option to set your board customization to all fighters. So if you find one combination is really cool, instead of having to go each individual fighter and changing it, set to all fighters, and then each fighter will have that same board customization. Okay, so next I'm going to highlight what I think are the bigger parts of these patch notes. These patch notes are not huge, but there's some pretty important stuff here. So first thing we're going to talk about is the lever penalty. This was a little bit in question during the first round of the closed beta. They turned it off initially because people were upset. They would join a game, the teammates would not play as a team or would not play objective, so people would leave in order to find a new game with team members that actually cared, and they were getting penalized for leaving. So they turned it off during the first round, but they have reintroduced it back into round 2, and let's see what they have to say. Bleeding Edge is a competitive multiplayer fighter where working together as a team is vital if you wish to achieve victory. We understand how players quitting matches can be detrimental to your experience, which is why we have been reviewing our lever penalty system. Quitting in the middle of a game counts as a loss, and you miss out on endgame rewards. Additionally, quitters will incur a lever penalty. I can't say my R's. Players with an active lever penalty prioritize matchmaking with other levers and are more likely to backfill into games with missing players. This means by quitting a match before it finishes, you're more likely to join other matches already in progress, and less likely to join a match that has just started. You're also unable to earn rewards while the lever penalty is active. Completing 3 matches clears the penalty. So, I don't know what the penalty was before. I didn't leave a game when it was live, but this seems like a really good way to balance it. Again, you're still getting kind of punished if you're just sick of your teammates not caring about the objective, but you know, you can't make everybody happy. I'm sure this is gonna get changed again, but this seems like a good compromise, and it's only 3 games at most. Games last 10 to 12 minutes. This seems like an okay change. Now, I highlighted this entire section, but what was really important to me was the second line here. They added mod parts as a reward for finishing a match. I thought this was huge. I wonder why this wasn't the case in the first place. I was thinking, like, this is gonna take forever to unlock all these mods and get all these mod parts. And like, to get any type of build, you want to personalize your playstyle. But yeah, so I'm very excited that they added the ability to receive mod parts as a reward. This next feature is pretty big for me too. The next map system, players are no longer forced back into the main menu after each game. When the countdown and the reward screen reaches 0, if enough players remain, they will automatically move into another match. So if you just had a good game, stick around for a rematch. That was something I found really annoying about round 1, is that there was no option to stay in the lobby. You were forced back to the main lobby to find a new game. So now you have the option to just stick with the people you just played with, if you so wish. Now, this one was an interesting change. The power cells, they reduced the number of power cells that spawn per group from 4 to 3, and reduced the amount of health the power cells containers have. And they reduced the health of the power cell containers so they break faster. So I'm thinking the logic was, don't quote me, but I think they were thinking that the games were lasting too long, or there was too much downtime in between rounds. So they lowered the health so that the game could maybe move a little quicker, but they lowered the amount that spawned in a group so it doesn't go too quickly in the objective progression. If you could get more faster, the game, you know, would end quicker because you'd be getting more points. But because you're getting less per group, I think it still keeps the game around 10 minutes long, but keeping the pace of it faster, I think, is the logic. That's how I took it. Now this is, I think, my favorite change that they are making in this patch, and I'm really excited for this. So the parry system, they added the parry right before the first closed beta round, whatever. And a lot of people, including myself, felt like the difficulty to execute the move was not worth it. There was no good payoff for trying to get the parry to work. So they are giving the parry mechanic a slight buff, since many of the players reported the payoff did not correspond to the difficulty of executing the move. Enemies are staggered for longer following a successful parry, and a successful parry generates half a bar of stamina. This is freaking huge. I love this change. The half bar of stamina, you know, good for evading, obviously. I think the bigger part of it is the longer stagger. That gives you a lot more time to get a good combo off before they have time to evade away. Because before you would parry them, they stagger, but you would only have enough time to maybe get one hit in before they evaded away. So we've also made the decision that only fighters with an evade ability can parry. This means Buttercup and Makuto cannot parry. The parry interfered with their unique defensive abilities, and since neither can be flinched by basic attacks, there is no clear benefit to them having it. I have no argument with this. This makes sense. Good decision. Okay, so next we have changes that they made to different fighters. Not a lot of them aren't actually like buffs or nerfs. They're more fixed bugs, which I'm kind of disappointed by. I get it's really early in the game's life, so balancing the characters is not the biggest priority, but I felt like there were some things that needed change that would not change in this patch. So let's go ahead and talk about it. For Makudu, the damage from barging enemy into a wall was increased by 25%. Now, overall, this would just make Makudu a lot easier to play because, in my opinion, he was one of the harder characters to play. He was really hard for me to grasp, and the charging enemy just did absolutely nothing. It made it primarily a disruption ability, like utility. Get a fighter out of the fight, hit him into a wall, isolate him, but this would actually like just make it have way more of an impact and maybe even a finishing move. Cass, reg damage was increased by 10%, and the default mod for extra damage was replaced with extra health. Now, I don't agree with the adjusted default mod, and I'm very happy Rake was increased by 10% in damage. I felt when I played Cass, I did not play it all that much. I just felt like she was super weak, super hard to play, and didn't make an impact on the fight at all until the very end of the fight. Because, you know, as it states, she specializes in finishing off a kill. But what is she supposed to do when there was no enemy to finish off? I just felt like Cass was not making an impact at all. So I hope this change to Rake really helps that. And then they also fixed the bug where enemies behind walls could be hit by dagger spray. Buttercup received a new mod. She gets defeat device. Enemies affected by oil slick suffer minus 25% healing from all sources. So I actually see this being a really huge counter to AoE heals like Kulev's Sacred Grounds, and maybe even Meko's new ability called Safe Area, I think it was, that gives armor. So this could be a pretty huge mod and a huge counter to AoE heals. Maeve, a bug was fixed where the issue where healing negation from Cage Mob was not being correctly applied to modded and stacked damage. I'm kind of upset they didn't nerf Maeve at least a little. I thought Maeve Cage ability is super oppressive, used too often, lasts too long, and the life drain combo absolutely annihilated like anybody it was caught by. So I expect Maeve to get nerfed in the future. Her Cage ability just is too much. Damon, bug was fixed. B-Boy Dance visual effects so they are interrupted when evading out of an emote. El Bastardo, a bug was fixed where El Bastardo could cancel Tornado with a melee attack at the beginning of cast without triggering the cooldown. So there you go, guys. Those are all the, well, not all the changes. Those are the changes I wanted to talk about. Again, I am leaving a link to the patch notes in the description. And again, I wish they would have changed the fighters a little more. I appreciate the damage changes they did do, but I feel like a lot more could have been done. I'm sure they will do more before the game is released. But yeah, overall I really enjoy these patch notes. I'm really glad they are listening to the community, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Bleeding Edge content and keep up with all the new stuff coming by. I want to bid you a good day, and just in case I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Bye.